Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Red, your lunchtime catch-up on all things Liverpool FC, on a Monday on which we travel to Manchester to take on United in an 8 p.m. kickoff with a lot riding on the game for both teams. Both teams have had really poor starts to the season. United have lost both games, lost at home to Brighton, got hammered away by Brentford. We've drawn both games, drew away to Fulham, drew at home to Palace. We've gone behind in both games. That's concerning. We have injuries mounting. That's also concerning. Jurgen Klopp said Joel Matip will be out for longer than expected, which, given Joel's track record of injuries, is a little bit worrisome. Now, we've seen what Nat Phillips can do, and it's what he can do. If there is going to be a need for another centre-back to get an opportunity, personally, I'd much rather if it was Sepp Vandenberg. I'd like to see what he's capable of at this point. I don't think he's ready to start regularly or anything like that, but I do think he's a capable player who excelled last season in the Championship. So I would be interested to see what he could do right now. As long as Virgil stays fit, the defence will be okay. But there does need to be improvements ahead of them, and we know that. Now, tonight, Klopp has big decisions to make. Joe Gomez has to start next to Virgil. There's absolutely no room for discussion on that one. With Joel Matip out and Ibu Konate out, Joe Gomez has to start next to Virgil. So you go Trent, Joe, Virgil, and then you've got a question. Do you play Andy Robertson? Do you play Kostas Tsimikas? Robertson hasn't looked great thus far this season. However, Kostas came on against Palace and was absolutely awful. Overhit every single cross, misplaced some passes, and generally just didn't look quite right. I think Klopp will stick with Andy Robertson. I think that's probably the right decision at the moment. And obviously, Alisson will be in goal. So that should be the back five. Fabinho should be the starting holding midfielder. There's no question about that. He played well against Palace, bar one moment for their goal. And in truth, others were more to blame for that goal. Then we have the question mark over the number 8 positions. If Naby Keita is fit, Naby Keita has to start. Has to. The only 2 players in our squad who can play that left-sided role at a high level are Thiago Alcantara and Naby Keita. And if Thiago's injured, Naby has to play. And Thiago right now is injured. So Naby has to play. Milner's not good enough in that role. Milner's not good enough to be starting for this team. It's foolish to suggest he is. He just isn't. Curtis can do a job in that role, but Curtis is also injured. So he's not an option. Naby is the only acceptable pick on the left of midfield tonight. The only one. And the Naby-Thiago injury issues are also why it might be worth our while, if we are to bring in a midfielder in this window, bringing in someone that primarily plays on that left side. Bring in somebody a little bit different. Bring in more of a defensive presence. Bring in someone who can do what Ginny used to do. And then you get that person and Naby. as your left-sided options. Let's just say, for argument's sake, we sign Moises Caicedo from Brighton. Now, the price would be expensive, and it is unlikely, obviously. But let's just say that that's who we could go and get. Let's just say we could get him. Him and Naby as the left-sided options is ideal. He's more durable than Naby. He doesn't have any known injury issues. He's elite defensively. If you saw the Brighton game against West Ham yesterday, him and Alexis McAllister absolutely dominated Declan Rice and Thomas Souček. So let's say you bring in him. He's your starting left-sided midfielder. Him and Naby can rotate in that position depending on who you're playing. If you need more of a defensive presence, you go with him. If you want more of an attacking, creative presence, you go with Naby Keita. Naby's also very good defensively. The numbers back that up. What that allows you to do is move Thiago across. And move Thiago to the right-hand side where he played in the run-in in the 2020-21 season and was absolutely incredible. The combination play between Trent, Thiago and Salah was sensational. And that midfield is the primary reason we made top four. That midfield was able to carry a centre-back pairing of Reece and Nat Phillips. Thiago on the right, Fab in the centre, Ginny on the left. It's the best the midfield has looked under Klopp. Caicedo can give you exactly what Ginny gave you and more. So let's say that's your starting midfield. Thiago right, Fabinho as the 6, Caicedo on the left. Naby's the backup to Caicedo. Henderson is the backup to Fabinho. Although Caicedo can also play there. And then Harvey is the backup to Thiago. And again, like on the left-hand side, it's a slightly different option. They play obviously very different games, Thiago and Harvey. They're both very attack-minded. They're both elite on the ball. Thiago obviously to a different extent because he's Thiago. But Harvey's an excellent dribbler. You can see his passing is going to come along. He's got the vision. It's just a matter of the execution being worked on. And then all of a sudden, you've got a nicely balanced midfield. You've got two great options on the right, two great options on the left, a great holding midfielder, and a good backup. And Henderson can start against the bad teams. But you'd have no problem starting Elliott, Henderson, Caicedo as a 3. Or Thiago, Henderson, Caicedo. Or Thiago, Henderson, Keita. Any of those can work. Tonight, Klopp has to go Elliott, Fabinho, Keita. Has to. Play your best team. Stop pandering to players who are underperforming. Play your best team. And the best available 11 right now has the midfield of Elliott, Fabinho and Thiago. That's the midfield that will go to Old Trafford and dominate United. That's the midfield that can take advantage of how poor they are. Take advantage of the big wide open spaces at Old Trafford. And then up front, it looks like Bobby's fit. So Bobby will start. Salah on the right, Diaz on the left. And the best way to get the most out of that front three is with the midfield I suggested. With Elliott, with Fabinho, with Keita. That midfield, that team, that goes and wins that game comfortably. You play Henderson, you play Milner, all of a sudden it's not comfortable anymore. The problem is Henderson and Firmino getting each other's way, because Henderson, when he's playing in that right-sided 8 role, plays basically in an attacking midfield position. And that's the space that Bobby wants to drop into, and all of a sudden they're in each other's way. That was the biggest issue we had in possession against Fulham, is that every time Firmino dropped into the number 10 position, he was stood next to Henderson. The two of them were getting in each other's way. And they were blocking each other from being available for passes. Whereas when Elliott plays it, he plays a much wider position. When Harvey plays, it's a 4-4-2. When Henderson plays, it's a 4-2-3-1. Keita plays it as a 4-2-3-1 as well, but Keita is a much more intelligent player and takes up better positions. So he doesn't get in the way, and he can actually impact the game. I've got to be honest, I'm actually very nervous about tonight's game. Really nervous about tonight's game. Don't normally get nervous about league games. Got nervous last week, and we saw what happened. And I'm nervous again today. Now, it might just be the fact that it's a Monday, and we've had to sit and watch all weekend. We've seen City drop points. We've seen Chelsea drop points. So they're big, big boosts for us. Our title rivals in City, and one of the teams who'd be looking to close the gap on us. Now, if you speak to Arsenal fans, they'll tell you that they've won the league because, it's mid-August and they're top. But, I mean, Rodrigo's the top scorer in the league. I don't think he can take anything from the first 3 games. And This Is Anfield have a 10 things to know ahead of Liverpool versus United, or United versus Liverpool as it is, written by Jack Lusby. Rough start for both sides. The injury situation has improved. Really don't think it has. Rare starts for Gomez and Firmino. Suggested team here is Alisson, Trent, Joe, Virgil, Robbo, Fabinho, Henderson, Keita, Salah, Diaz, Firmino. It should be Elliott over Henderson. It just should. Casemiro not available. He's due to, I think, sign his contract today. He has said his goodbyes at Madrid this morning. And, is anyone really worried? Harry Maguire is set to be dropped. The predicted United 11. De Gea, Dalot, Varane, Martinez, Shaw. Fred and Eriksen as a double pivot. This is why we need to start Harvey. Sancho, Fernandes, and Rashford behind Cristiano. That team doesn't inspire much, does it? It's an awful lot of money spent to not be very good. And it's just a shame we don't have Darwin, because Darwin would absolutely batter that centre-back pairing. Chance for 4 in a row. Chance to beat United for the 4th time in succession. Salah loves playing against United. He does indeed. He destroyed them last season. Expect the protest. Manchester United fans are set to protest against the Glazers' ownership. If the game ends up being called off, they need to be punished as a club, and we need to be given the 3 points. Klopp has said as much himself, that we should be given the 3 points. And there will be a live blog on This Is Anfield tonight if you want to follow along with the game there, if you can't watch it. There's another predicted Liverpool 11 here. Let's see. So this is the one we've just read out. This is the same team, but with different dates. Elliott and Milner. I'm not really sure why. Unless Kate is not fit, there's absolutely no reason not to start him. Milner wasn't good. He wasn't bad, but he wasn't good against Crystal Palace. And we need someone who can be good. Bad news for former Red. Gini Wijnaldum has suffered a broken leg in training just after making his move to Roma. So he's going to be out for a period of time, and potentially his World Cup is in doubt, which is absolutely horrible. Hopefully he can get back before it, because if anyone deserves to go to that World Cup, it's him. He has been outstanding for the Netherlands for years now. Let's see, what else have we got? Fabinho at some point did an interview and was asked about Liverpool's transfer plans. He said he never heard anything about Tchouaméni, but he's heard about Bellingham. He also talked about when we wanted Rafinha a couple of months back. So it's interesting the Fab does this, but it's quite good. Let's see, what else do we have? Liverpool.com. Another predicted lineup that has Naby and Harvey starting. Manchester United have embarrassing weakness. Roberto Firmino and Liverpool are set to exploit. Liverpool set to make £42 million transfer bid as Jurgen Klopp tipped to sign Bayern Munich forward. So the Bayern Munich forward in question is Leroy Sané, a player we did try to sign once upon a time. I just don't see that it's something we would do now. Now, I'd absolutely take him. You'd absolutely take Leroy Sané in your team. Go 4-4-2, stick Diaz right wing, Sané left wing, Salah and Darwin through the middle, Fab plus one of Thiago or Naby in the middle of the park, and it would be just sensational. But we're just not going to do that. Liverpool prepare £42 million bid. Liverpool are preparing an offer of $42 million for Brighton midfielder Moises Caicedo, according to Studio Football, a news outlet in his native Uruguay. Now, somebody spoke to this journalist, and he said it's absolutely true. He said he's gotten it directly from the player's agent. So, look, all we can do is wait and see what happens. What else do we have here? Oh, yeah, and there's more going around about Naby's future. If Naby were to leave, bringing in one isn't enough. If Naby leaves, we've got to bring in two, because we need two as is, but we'll take one and then get the other one next summer. But if Naby leaves, that would mean we need three. So we'd need two now and then get the other one next summer. So selling Naby doesn't make a whole lot of sense unless he's not going to sign a new contract, in which case maybe the best thing would be to sell him. And maybe you go and bring in Caicedo and let's say someone like a Konrad Laimer, who can be a utility player, big engine, great presser, and a solid squad player. And if you get him, he doesn't stop you going to get Jude or whoever next summer. I mean, is there a Keita for Laimer swap deal that we could work with Leipzig, who apparently would like Naby back and have signed Timo Werner, so they're putting the band back together? Could we do that and then go and buy the one that we need anyway? Probably not. Jude Bellingham and Aurelien Tchouaméni give Liverpool transfer clue to Jurgen Klopp evolution. FSG could break their model to eliminate a crucial man to the edge. This is a piece, I think, about Sander Berge. Liverpool have awoken a former transfer target who must surely be back on Jurgen Klopp's radar. This is about Eberechi Eze. And if you saw the Palace game against Villa at the weekend, he was absolutely incredible. Like, it was an amazing performance. He might be the best dribbler in the Premier League. He genuinely might. Watching him carry the ball past Villa players as if they weren't even there, and always having a little burst of speed just to get himself a little bit of space, was sensational. He's an excellent passer of the ball. We saw him at Anfield. Saw how good he was. And he's playing as an 8 for Palace. Now, he won't be available now, but if we couldn't get Jude, Eze as the right-sided 8 could be a lot of fun. An awful lot of fun. Now, my preference from Palace would be Elise, but Eze is sensational. And I definitely wouldn't say no. Also pictured with him here is Jacob Ramsey. Another one who's hugely talented, but I don't think he's got the type of talent that Eze has. I think he might be more of a goal scorer, whereas Eze is more of a creator. But I just don't think he has the same talent. AnfieldIndex.com. Manchester United versus Liverpool. The Reds must find their ruthless side, written by the machine Stephen Smith. So do check that one out. We have some new podcasts, and by some I mean 4, for you to peruse. There is a rival recon ahead of the United game. You can check that out. There is a positivity podcast. Paul, Lubo, and Matt are back to take a look at the start of the season. So give that one a listen if that's your bag. The Liverbirds podcast, Gay, Amy, Kate, and Randy reconvene to begin a new season. Great to have the girls back on board. And there is a new Anfield Index podcast, episode 336. Brother Downey, Lisa Marie, and Carol Kopak looking back on the week that was, looking ahead at the United game. Just quickly, there was a United fan who took umbrage with the fact that Liverpool fans weren't willing to join United on the picket ahead of tonight's game. They weren't willing to back United's protest. Now, first of all, this fella will be nowhere near the protest. He'll be sat at home in his studio making silly YouTube videos. And secondly, this is the fan base that coined the term bin dippers. This is the fan base that routinely chant victims, murderers, the sun was right, etc., etc., etc. This is the fan base who, after Liverpool fans went out of their way to show support for Cristiano last season after the death of his newborn child, turn around and were verbally abusive to Liverpool fans. This is the fan base that when Liverpool fans were protesting against Hicks and Gillette, told Liverpool fans to shut up and be quiet and accept it. Why would any Liverpool fan stand with United fans on this? Seriously. Why would any Liverpool fan stand with them? And here's the other thing. If they'd signed Casemiro a month ago, if they'd signed Anthony a month ago, they wouldn't be having these protests. They just wouldn't. But they've organised them now, so they have to go through with them. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.